Welcome back to the WordCamp LAX live show. I am Joey Dowd, your live show host and wrangler. Thanks to Francesca for your Future of WordPress talk and Meryl for your talk on captions. Remember, the conversation continues on Zoom and Slack, so go check it out. All right, sponsor events. Waiting for the teleprompter to load. But I do know where now, because I've been talking about it, Nexus and WP Engine are both having events right now during the lunch break. That's cool. Teleprompter froze. Yeah, Nexus is doing their Nachos, Nexus, and WooCommerce event. WP Engine is doing their Kahoot trivia game. And then also at 2, Nexus will be talking about their plugins. Other sponsors that are in the virtual booth right now include GoDaddy Pro, Yoast, Green Geeks, and one more, Bluehost. So you can go check out all of them over at the sponsor hub at the website la.wordcamp.org. Now, instead of doing some of the tricks of the trade with the tweets, we had been doing, as I mentioned before, we'd been doing the live show leading up to the camp. About a couple weeks up leading up to, and we had different guests on, and so they were all asked different tricks of the trade, some sponsors, some from our own organizer team. So here is a compilation video of all of the tricks of the trade that were shared by the live show guests.
My very quick one is just always check your permalinks. I feel like that's a common you set up a new post type and you're like, why is it not showing, etc. So that's a freaking easy one. And maybe on the visual side, that like to kind of think about accessibility and have your alt tags filled out properly, or check your contrast and choose font sizes and type that will be readable to all people.
Do you have any tools that you use to help check contrast?
I have a Chrome extension, but I have to look up the name to be able to share it. But I can do that while Chris is going if you want.
Sure. Yeah, I'm always kind of curious of, I mean, accessibility is big, but I'm always curious of like extra tools to use to help.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could definitely use Lighthouse, like the, which is in Chrome DevTools, as a starting point.
Sure, I've got lots of tricks in my trade. I would say, one thing that people notice very often after they put up their first WordPress website is that sharing a link to their site on social media or in a text message, something like that, the preview doesn't always match what they might expect it to do. Sometimes you have like placeholder text that gets installed as an artifact during the WordPress setup process, or sometimes you have auto-generated images and things kind of pulled at random. There's a good plugin called the SEO framework that you can use to control a lot of SEO values, which also impact preview text. And it's just one of those like 5-minute things to take care of after building a new site that makes it, or helps you control the presentation of those previews.
Nice. Is that kind of, with that plugin, does that kind of check your boxes for all of your general SEO stuff, like optimization, like a sitemap generator, and
it does. I mean, SEO optimization is actually less important in 2020 than a lot of people think it is, but those SEO values are useful in ways beyond just your search presence.
I'll go down that rabbit hole. Why do you think it is less important now, or not as important?
Because fewer people are searching for things in Google than they used to. More people end up going to a website because they got a referral through email or social or something like that.
I think a lot about how content looks on a page, and header hierarchy matters. It matters because it helps screen readers, and it does help with SEO if you care about that, but also it's also really nice if you can have parameters when you're writing so that the text looks good on a page in a standard way. it doesn't even require you to make like a branding guide for yourself. Like if you can just remember that there should be one H1 tag, like one H1 on the page, and then the top of a section would be like an H2, and then anything underneath that would be H3, right? And then if you want to switch ideas, you go back to H2, and then you go to H3. So thinking about header hierarchy in ascending order. So if you have one H1, then you have an H2, then you have your H3s. Some people go to H4 and H5. I don't typically, maybe H4. And then you can start back at H2 and then go to H3s. But you would never order it like H1, H5, H3, H2, H4. Like you don't do that sort of order. So just remembering that with your headers on the page or the post, you go in ascending order.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And I feel like, so I mean, usually with a default WordPress theme, H1 is going to be your, if you're doing a regular blog post, H1 is going to be your blog post title, right? By default. Yeah. And then anything you add under that will be H2 to H6. And I feel like with Gutenberg, I can't remember these, I think if you click the I, if that's right, you can see it'll kind of show you an outline of your page or your article, and right, am I on the right path here? It'll show you the outline, and you can kind of glance at your structure to kind of make sure your H2, H3 tags have like a logical grouping as you're saying.
Yeah, and this
am I thinking of the right thing?
document outline that they added now. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It's just
the
very
the doc outline. Yeah,
that's fine. This is also like with Google Docs, right? Like in general, if you can build an outline into your story that you're telling, not only does it make more sense for the reader, but it also helps you when you have to quickly refer to something, if you have to edit it or go back into it. It helps you to be able to find information quickly. And whatever you can do to help yourself in the future make your job easier, then that's really good.
But now I feel like I'm just gonna be copying, because my tip was always like SEO related, and James talked about SEO. And I'd say optimize, make sure you have like a good SEO plugin and set it up. But also I would say to, you kind of finish your writing your post, and then you're kind of ready to hit publish. But I would say there's a lot of, to make sure you kind of tick the boxes on the other metadata surrounding it, to make sure that you write out a good, at the very least, write out a good excerpt, and don't let WordPress just pull I think the default is pulling the first couple lines from your post, but it's definitely better to craft out a custom excerpt that summarizes what your article's about, because that's what Facebook and Twitter, maybe Twitter, but that's what kind of the social graphs will pull from if people post your link and they get the little preview card. So you want to make sure that is more of a teaser and a description of your post, rather than just whatever the first couple sentences that you wrote were.
So I have one tip that's probably very usual, but for users, beginners, or even users that are a bit used to WordPress already, I would say keep your WordPress secure. It's very important. There are a ton of setup guides online for configuring your WordPress with some plugins and some stuff to be sure it's secure. Be careful when you choose plugins and themes to check the author, check how much they are used before you choose some shady plugin and theme. From my experience, a lot of websites got broken or even hacked when you don't follow some basic rules of security. For example, having an SSL domain, so it's also important that you choose the right hoster that also provides that kind of stuff. But exactly, WordPress security is really one big point.
My general WordPress quick tip, and this may seem a little elementary, but if you log into your WordPress admin and you go to settings and you go to reading, there's a little checkbox on the bottom part there that says discourage search engines from accessing the site or similar. Make sure that's not checked. because a lot of times when you're building a site, it's in development. A lot of people build it on a live domain. They put up a maintenance plan and they discourage search engines while they're building their menus and pages and things. And we've seen it more than once, and I've done it more than once, forgetting to turn off the discouragement of search engines indexing the site. So that's my quick tip.
Thanks to everyone that came on the show and shared their tips. Remember to keep tweeting out your tips with the hashtag WCLAX. Got a few more shows left. Got a couple more slots to share out those tips. Share it with the world. Next up, we have a video from one of our sponsors, SiteGround. Because of the time difference, they weren't able to join us live, but they sent a recording sharing a bit about their story and some tips.
My very quick one is just always check your permalinks. I feel like that's a common, you set up a new post type and you're like, why is it not showing?
Hello, my name is Christopher Ponjarov and I'm manager of WordPress initiatives here at SiteGround. I'm very happy to be able to talk to you at this WordCamp LA. Unfortunately, I'm sitting here in the empty SiteGround building in Sofia and not being able to fly over to sunny California, but with the COVID thing happening, hopefully next year or the year to come, it will be better and we will be able to meet in person on the SiteGround booth and not online. Few words. As I promised the organizers, SiteGround is a web hosting company. We provide managed WordPress hosting and we try to handle every aspect of the proper WordPress website hosting from security to our specialists have developed a special WAF for WordPress. We provide services like auto updates. We constantly monitor everything that comes up in the WordPress ecosystem in terms of vulnerabilities. We offer special performance pack. The SG Optimizer plugin is one of the best performance plugins out there, and it really speeds up your websites to great levels. And of course, we have a knowledgeable 24/7 support at your disposal to help you out in case you have problems. This is what SiteGround does. I think one way or another you have heard about our company. We've been sponsoring WordCamps for roughly 10 years and we've been around a very long time. My current story, because I've been asked to answer this question, what is my WordPress journey? I think it's a very interesting one. I started working for SiteGround as a regular support team member. I was closing tickets in 2007. I'm now 13 years later. I manage our entire WordPress product, everything we do in terms of services, plugin development, our contributors, and it's been a great journey for me to grow from a regular support team member to a supervisor to the escalations team, and then start handling more the things more on the product side. Funny thing is that when I started at SiteGround, actually WordPress wasn't that big in the world as it is now. It was mostly Joomla and Mambo back then. So we were doing a lot of stuff about those two applications, about Joomla mostly, which inherited Mambo. And it was very interesting to be able to see how one project, when not constantly developed, when lacking huge support from the community, shrinks its global usage, while another WordPress grows exponentially and gets more and more traction, more and more business use, more and more volunteers and people who want to participate in the product one way or another. So that's been particularly interesting for me to be able to see how the web develops in a longer period of time, because there are certain processes that you can't really catch for a month or two. So this video is mostly me answering several questions that the organizer have asked me, and the last one of them is what is my WordPress tip for you, a tip or trick. I would say when you plan a website, spend a bit more time planning than actually starting to build it. Trust only reputable providers of your software, no matter if it's a team provider or a plugin provider. Always spend an hour or two trying to figure out whether this is the perfect plugin for your needs, whether this author provides adequate support for it. So for example, if you want to add something to WooCommerce, you like a payment gateway, for example, it will be the chances are there will be more than one plugin out there. Just go to the forums, check how many open threads they have and how fast they're answering customers, because you will need support eventually from the plugin developers, and it's a good idea to have software that is very well maintained, developed, and that keeps up to date with the latest trends and security measures. Another thing, the next question for me is to highlight things happening during the event. We have two speakers that are part of the SiteGround Ambassadors program. Joe Simpson is talking on Saturday, and Cole Evans is on Sunday. I urge you guys to look at both talks. They're great. I'm sure they have great content to share with you. So bye from me. Have fun at the WordCamp. I hope that next time we meet in person, and see you.
Thank you, SiteGround. All right, next up in about an hour at 1:15 on track 1, which is still community themed, we have 5 ways to make your events and projects more diverse. And on track 2 in accessibility, we have web accessibility and on-page SEO, why they are really like twins. So grab a bite to eat, get a shot of espresso, head over to the sponsor booths, hallway, Zoom room, and Slack. That wraps up this episode of the WordCamp LAX live show. I will see you back here at 2.